One Percenter Podcast with Sam Bakhtiar, bringing you the 1% knowledge to help you reach your full potential. Learn what it takes to rise above the 99% and become a 1%er.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's your host Sam Bakhtiar with a 1%er podcast, and man, do I have a 1%er here for you. Matter of fact, not even a 1%er, it's like 1 in 8 billion. He actually holds multiple records. He has so many records that I can't even remember. James Lawrence is in the house. James, can you tell us, because I couldn't even memorize all the records that you have. Tell us a little bit about all the records that you hold at Guinness World Book of Records.
Oh man, I'll be honest, man, it's been a journey. Life's been crazy. And to think this all started with a humble 4-mile fun run that we'll get into. But I've held the record for the most half Ironmans in a single year, the world record for the most full Ironmans around the world, official events in a year. That led me to do most consecutive Ironmans, 50 Ironmans, 50 days, 50 states. We've ridden our bike up Mount Kilimanjaro, 20,000 feet, the largest mountain in Africa. I'm preparing right now for a race in the Swiss Alps and the Patagonia Mountains, and then we're doing a 400-mile race across Fiji. Life is exciting, brother, and that's just when you find a passion and live your dreams, you get to wake up every day and it be Saturday.
So you hold the Guinness World Record, the most amount of Ironman done in a year, right? Most amount of half Ironman done in a year, right? And now you did something that you did a full Ironman. 50 full Ironman in 50 days consecutive. And
we moved states every single day.
So just for those of you, I don't know. Anything after like 15 seconds, I'm pretty much gassed out. I'm all anaerobic, man. So tell me, what is an Ironman? What does it consist of, first of all, for those viewers who doesn't even know what an Ironman is?
Yeah, so it's kind of the current pinnacle of endurance racing right now. It is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike ride, and then it finishes with a full marathon, which is 26.2 miles. So the total is 140.6 miles in a single day.
I'm crazy.
And so yeah, to do that 50 consecutive days was unexpected, and we kind of shifted people's perception of what is possible, both mind, body, and spirit.
Okay, so tell me, growing up, I think I read about that you were a wrestler, right? You're a wrestler. So how did you ever even thought about tell me the whole transition. You're a pretty damn good wrestler. So can you talk about growing up wrestling and how all this come about?
Yeah, wrestling was my passion, and I just fell in love with it and dove in and kind of made it my life. But once you kind of graduate and take the next steps and get into family, MMA wasn't big, 15, 20 years ago. And so there wasn't an outlet for a guy like me to do that.
By the way, I can totally see you in the octagon, man. I can totally see you. Like, you got the look for it. You got the thing. I can totally see you on that.
Yeah, I love it, man. I watch it. I got Conor McGregor on my wall here, and dude, instead I've got some Uriah Faber signed gloves in the background.
I can see.
I just love the sport. Those guys are intense. I got in. This is going to shock you, but I got into golf after high school, and I'm super pumped about the U.S. Open this weekend. You can see in the background I've got a Tiger Woods signed jersey from one of his majors. Huge Tiger fan. The dude's a stud. Anyways, but Pebble's right there in your backyard. But went into golf and then just got a family, and golf wasn't paying the bills, and neither was triathlon at the time. But my wife and I just started to do something together, and we started to run together. Mm-hmm. And from there, it just kind of took on its own life, and I really gravitated to cycling, and I had to teach myself how to swim. I didn't know how to swim, and so I jumped in the water, and I've got a hilarious picture of me hanging on the side of the pool in my first race with a nose plug, and I'm gasping for air. Like, I couldn't swim 500 yards when I first started. And so that's where this whole journey has gone. And then since doing the 50, I've done some of the most extreme mountain races. I rode my bike up Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the largest mountain in Africa.
What?
We rode our mountain bikes up Mount Kilimanjaro, 20,000 feet in the air.
Dude, that's crazy.
And we're getting ready for a race now. We're gonna do 400 miles across Fiji in an adventure race.
All right, man. Like, okay, I have a series of questions I'm going to ask you. After all, I don't want to interrupt you because right now in my mind, man, all these questions are popping up. All you talking about, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead. I mean, I'm just
no, I'm good.
I'm fascinated, bro. I'm fascinated. I'm just fascinated.
Yeah, let's roll the questions. Let's roll the questions. I mean, that was kind of the history. Just couple small world records, 50-50.
So you started running with your wife, right? But when did you decide you want to take it further? I mean, like, it's one thing you're going to go on a morning, run with your wife. I mean, that's one thing. And it's another thing you say, okay, I'm going to do my half. Something in me tells me that you always have a very competitive spirit. You always in your life push the envelope. You did it in wrestling, and not when you started doing that, you're like, okay, give you an outlet to push yourself. Something tells me that you're one of those guys who kind of like hates comfort. Am I on the right track? Like kind of, not hates comfort, but kind of like you're not one of those guys who sit around and don't push yourself. You always want to push the limits, push the envelope. You've always been that way. Or did it happen with track? Your first triathlon.
It happens over time, and I want to read to you something that really resonated to me the other day. People reach out to me all the time because they want to push themselves physically. They want to push themselves mentally, and I've inspired people to take on their version of difficult. And this guy from Canada has reached out to me, and he really wants to do something of this level. And I said, dude, you're in real estate. You make great money. You've got a family. I don't understand why you want to suffer. I did this because I wanted to build my coaching business, and I wanted to find out personally what I was made of, and I wanted to create a future for my family. I'm like, you've already got this all set up. And this is what he wrote back to me, and it really resonated with me. And he said, most think all endurance sports suck. I think my wife, hang there. Here he goes. Okay, he says, I want to feel like you did on day 19 and day 36. I want to collapse on the side of the road and cry. I want to play that constant game in my head of quit, don't quit. I want to feel all of that. I want it to be long, so long that I forget what life before it was like. I crave being in that bubble. I'm excited to share those experiences with my closest family and friends who could be my crew, support, and network. We started on a Hawaiian island all those years ago. That's where triathlon started. Some crazies started to multiply the distance. A triple deck in Italy got the number up to 30 with a small group of guys. You pushed it all the way to 50. To many in the world, this is just some crazy fringe thing, but for me, this is my sport. It's my passion. I'd love to be a small part of the progression. You should be very proud of yourself because you're like Roger Bannister, sub 4-minute mile.
100%.
And that you likely accelerated the rate at how things will progress going forward after bringing all that attention to it, and that's awesome. No matter how high the record climbs, you will always be the start of it, in my opinion.
That is so profound, man.
That kind of sums up the reason why. Like he says, I want to know what that feels like to be on the side of the road crying. I want to know what it feels like to be in that space in your head to where quit or don't quit. This isn't a survival, life or death situation. There is no panic button. This isn't a prisoner of war camp where you just can't get out and it's life or death. This is where you're in a situation that you intentionally put yourself in, and you have an option. And now you have to decide, which option do you take? I'm suffering, it's uncomfortable. Do I do what I say I'm going to do? Do I continue down the path? Do I find out what I'm truly made of? Or do I push the comfort button because I can and I go over here? And that's the difference between a life and death situation and intentionally taking yourself to a place where it is real. And you're going to find out, do I have cojones to push this through? Am I willing to do what I said I'm going to do? And what is that sacrifice and what does that mean to me as a man?
That is so profound, man. That is so profound because, once you get to that level and you follow through, I think you can use that same discipline and the same mindset and apply it to so many different levels of your life. You know what I mean? Yeah. And be able to take that to your business, take that to your relationship, take that to but not too many people want to get there. It's almost like, there's everybody will push up to here, but they'll never push up to here. And I call it their inner bitch comes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The inner bitch, that voice, oh man, why are you doing this? Oh, you should quit, man. There's no reason for that. And nobody pushes that wall, man. And that is so profound. That is so, you are going to have so many people like that reaching out to you. And I'm sure with your coaching program now, and everything, you're going to have so many people, not just people that want to just, do better in triathlons, but just in life. I would for sure want you as a mindset coach, because you have literally have programmed your mind to push above and beyond, no matter what your body says, no matter what your thing said. And I know so many people have probably told you, oh, quit, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And you just ignore the noise, block that out, and fucking push through, man. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, because people are always like, hey, who motivates you? What allows you to push you to the next level? And I said, I don't have anybody that's motivating me, because what other people are trying to accomplish should be my benchmark to get started. And then I've got to believe in me and create my own path and achieve what I believe is possible of achieving, right? And that's what a lot of people do. They look over here and they're like, ooh, I want to be doing that. I want to achieve what that guy's doing. Well, you could be limiting yourself at what your potential is, because that guy maybe doesn't have the wit to do what you do, right? And so don't look around and see what other people are doing. Do that to get maybe motivated and started. But then, man, you've got to set your own standards, your own goals, your own destinations.
100%. I was just having this conversation in a car, yesterday, and the guy, kept talking about, here's what I do. Every morning I listen to motivational stuff. I do this and this and that. Look, man, I'm all about motivation. I listen to that stuff too, but at a certain point in time, you got to fucking do the work, right? And it has to come from within. It has to come from within. 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have motivational speakers everywhere. Did Sam Walton have, a motivational speaker? Did Steve Jobs have a motivational speaker? They had a purpose. They had a passion. They had a higher standard for themselves, and they wanted to push the envelope and see what they can do, and that's what you possess, you know what I mean? And I'm so tired of people, I'll listen to this, and I'll listen to this motivation, but what the fuck have you done? What do you do every morning? At some time, the motivation has to stop, and you got to put the rubber to the floor, and you got to fucking move. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people always ask me, hey, what's the secret to success? How do you do what you do, all these things? And I'm like, it's not motivation, it's showing up.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what people are scared to do. They're like, oh, I people contact me all the time. They want to accomplish something. They have this goal. We lay out the framework and all of it, and I present it to them, and they're like, oh, thanks, man. I didn't realize that's the work it was going to take. I'm out. like people just aren't willing to show up and do the work. And that's why it's such a small percentage of people that achieve certain things and achieve certain levels. And you're where you are today because you grind. You show up every single day, and that's the secret to success. I had an athlete just text me this morning, and they're like, "Hey, man, today was one of those days. It was boring." And I said, "Yeah, high tolerance for monotony is an underrated superpower." And that means becoming an expert at the basics.
Yeah.
You want variety, go do CrossFit. you want to be successful at the endurance game, you're going to have to do some repetitive things. You're going to have to master those basics at a high level. Yeah. Because when things get the hardest, they got to become the easiest because you've done the basics over and over again.
I'm going to tell you this story. One of my real good friends, Tim Grover. I know you know him. Yep. He told me every time. After a game, Chicago Bulls play game, 48 after Michael Jordan played 48 minutes. After the game, he went to Michael Jordan. After every game, he said 5, 6, or 7, meaning tomorrow. What time are we practicing? 5, 6, or 7. Nobody else was practicing. Michael was training the next day after the game, where everybody's celebrating, relaxing, whatever, having brunches, right? And he said, when we showed up at every practice, everything, what Michael Jordan started his practice with? I mean, this guy's a Michael Jordan, he's slam dunk champion. He's the man, right? He said he practiced with 100 chest passes every single time. The most basic movement of all time, the greatest player in the world. And it's crazy. The brilliance are in the basics. And it's funny, man. I 100% agree with you with that. I 100% agree.
Are you watching the NBA playoffs right now?
I am.
Who's the most fundamentally sound player on the court?
I don't watch it that close, but I just love the way Steve Curry shoots.
Yeah, Steve, it's Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
Kawhi Leonard, he said he's there to win, and it's because of his fundamentals. He every decision he makes on the basketball court is, what's my highest percentage play here?
Yeah.
I'm not about flash. I don't need to shoot the three. I'm going to do that mid-range jumper. I'm gonna give it to the guy with a perfect pass because he's got a better chance over there than I do right here because I've got three guys triple teaming me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. He understands the basics, and hopefully it works out, and they're going to win a championship in the next 1 or 2 games. And it'll be the first championship for Canada, but it's going to be because Kawhi Leonard understands the basic fundamentals, and he gets it, man. He's not about flash. He's about
right.
results.
You're Canadian. That's why you're rooting for Toronto Raptors. That just dawned to me, man. I hate Golden State. Right now, honestly, it doesn't matter who wins. But if you like Canada, I'm going for Canada. You know what I mean? I don't like Golden State, man. You know what I mean? So
yeah, there you go.
So it's crazy. But another thing, man. You remember Roy Jones Jr. I know you like fighting. You know what I mean? Roy Jones Jr. He was dominating for decades, right? Dominating for decades because of his athleticism. He was fast, he could move, this and that. And when Father Time caught up to him and he didn't have the right fundamentals, he was winning because he had the athleticism. When he started getting knocked out, right? And if he had the proper fundamentals, he would have been, he had more longevity. And that's why, like you said, the proper fundamentals are so important. So really quick, going back, I want to know your first feeling. What was your feeling after you did your first, half triathlon? What was that? You're like, oh fuck, this is amazing. I want to do it again. You're like, oh man, you know what? This is pretty, this is pretty rough.
Yeah, the first real big taste I got of it was, when I started winning just smaller local events, and that feeling again took me back to my wrestling days and having your arm raised in the air and all that. And then I started to go longer, and when you cross your first Ironman finish line, it's just a grinding emotional journey, and you've been out there in the heat all day and you've done a year's worth of training, and to cross that finish line at that moment, and your family's there, and you break that tape, and everything in that moment becomes worth it. And in that moment I said to myself, I want to feel this as often as I can. And that's kind of what put us on the journey to start, going for the consecutive records and the multiple records and all that stuff, was because I craved that feeling of success after putting in all of that hard work. And I mean, there's way easier world records to break. I mean, there's how many powdered donuts you can eat in a minute record. That's the kind of stuff I should be going after. But let me grab, this is one of my favorite things. Hang on.
Oh man, he's hilarious. Oh, that's cool.
So this here, I love this. This buddy of mine made this for me. It's a championship belt because he knew I love fighting. But on both these sides here, it's got all the 30 events that we did at the world record.
Oh, that's badass.
And it's thank you to my family on the bottom.
Oh, that's
and so
badass, bro.
It's just super legit. I keep it here in my office as my reminder about what it takes to do something at a high level. It's just it's just a material thing, but it symbolizes something. And I keep it here in my office so that I can remember what I'm working towards and who I'm working towards it for. And so it's that feeling, right? So the feeling to cross the finish line, and then the feeling to break a world record, doing something that nobody else has done before.
Bro, that is, you're talking about a 1%er. We're talking about you becoming a 1%er. You are literally, 1 in 8 billion. 1 in 8 billion. How many, I think Earth is like 8 billion. You're the 1 in 8 billion. You know what I mean? I don't even know what percentage that is, but it's like 0.000000001%. That's freaking crazy.
It's totally humbling because in the past 4 years I've traveled and spoke in 48 countries, and when you start speaking in like India and Japan and New Zealand and Australia, you start to realize how many people are in this world. And someone came up to me one day and said, "Dude, you're one of one." And it kind of took me back, and I had to think about it for a second. And I'm like, nah, that can't be. There's lots of guys that can do this. And there's been guys that have come after me and that have tried to do this and haven't been successful. And so it is extremely humbling for someone to say, dude, you're one of one.
You know what?
And that's the space that I can't comprehend in my mind.
Bro, you know what makes you more unique than anybody else? I remember when I was bodybuilding, right? When I was bodybuilding, my colleagues, my peers, they're like, well, Sam, I can't go to school. I can't get a real job because I need to lift and I need to sleep and I need to eat. I need to grow my muscles, man. So they were like living off their girlfriends, man. They were like bums. All they do is go to this fucking gym, work out, eat, sleep. I'm like, you don't need that much fucking sleep. So I was the opposite. I was going to school. I was taking minimum 18 units. I was working as a personal trainer 25, 30 hours a week. I was meal prepping myself. I was doing everything myself. And when it came down to competing, I kicked their asses every single time. I wasn't a bum. I wasn't willing to be a bum. What makes you unique, bro, is you have 5 kids. You have 4 daughters and a son and a wife. You know what I mean? So it's one thing somebody has nothing else to do. Nothing else to do, and all they do is train. But you have a real family. It's not easy. You're a family man, and you are a champion, and you're the Guinness World Books of Record. I mean, like I said, when people say, "Oh, this girl, she looks pretty good," I'm like, well, that's all she don't do nothing. She works out all day. Now you show me a mom that has kids and take care of her husband and take care of the kids and take care of the home and looks good. Now I'm fucking impressed.
Yeah, here's the absolute coolest part of the story is when people hear about our journey, they're like, oh, James is rich and single. and I'm like, no. I got 5 kids and we lost everything in the economy. Right. I used to own a mortgage company and they took away my home. Because we fought for years to try to make that work, and it just didn't. And just like many Americans, we suffered that economic crash. And now we fought back, and we're back on top again. But that was a decade. And what's most impressive is the story that's not being told, and it's Sunny, my wife. And you talk about a beautiful, dynamic person who manages the household and raises the 5 kids, and we have a very tight family. And endurance athletes are perceived as selfish because of the amount of training and stuff that we do. Well, I make sacrifices and do training at odd hours, and I make breakfast for my kids every single day. I'm at every school event when I'm in town, and I do these things. And so, to me, family's always been number one. Yeah. And Sonny, I'm not the Iron Cowboy. We are the Iron Cowboy family, and it takes every single one of us to make it. It goes the inspiration from my kids to get me out there to do what I do and to get me to those finish lines. And the kids came on the 50 with us. I mean,
I know that's what I'm gonna talk to you about, because I remember reading about when you presented the 50 triathlons in 50 days, and you presented to the family, they didn't even like question it. They start looking at the maps, they start planning things, and they started, they did get an RV following you and stuff and all that kind of stuff in every state. And from what I understand and read about that is that it's not like you had time to meal prep and have like perfect meals made. You had to have people like that in the area have some meals ready. It's not like you had a gourmet chef make you like nutritious, like I gotta have this much potassium, I have to have this much sodium. You probably ate some bologna sandwiches and we're gone. Is that what I'm saying?
It was like, I was like, who's got something? Like, I got a Pop-Tart. I'm like, good, give me that, let's go. I mean, it was an all-out championship round fight for 50 days. And it was chaos, and minute to minute, we were figuring out obstacles. Our motorhome got wrecked. It took out our generator. We couldn't take food with us. Travel. It was just, what's more impressive than the physical, mental feed and the family aspect of it, and what a lot of people don't dive into initially because they're so taken back by what we did, is the logistics behind it. The logistics behind moving the crew, and we had a shell crew, but moving it all and I had to set up 50 different Ironman courses in 50 states in 50 days. Now think about that. Put on a 140-mile event in 50 different states in 50 different states, and you don't have the time or finances to go out to those events. You've got to do it all by social media, communicating with people in each state, and sitting down on Google Earth and creating these things. And so it took me 2.5 years to just do the logistics behind this on top of training, my body, my mind, working with clients. Sunny was in school full time, getting her psychology degree. We had the 5 kids in 6.5 years. We moved out of our home and into a house with an elderly lady to care for her. She had Alzheimer's in exchange for rent so that we could save money.
5 kids.
What's that?
5 kids in 6.5 years?
Yeah.
Damn, you did all that stuff and you still had time. Oh my God, man. That's another, okay.
Well, that's why I laugh at people when they're like, I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you don't know what the definition of prioritizing and sacrifice means. 100%. That's all that is.
100%. Dude, we speak the same language, man. We pretty much, kind of nowhere near your discipline, but I apply that to bodybuilding. I apply that to bodybuilding and business and things like that. But I'm telling you, one of my life goals was to just do a marathon. You know what I mean? And I'm like, my inner bitch always comes in like, dude, you can't even run. Let me tell you this story. You're gonna laugh. You talk about the 4K that you did. I remember this was I believe in 2005, 2006. I was at the top of my bodybuilding career. I was like, I'm 5'5", 5'5.5". I was like 205 pounds. I looked like a statue if you looked at me. But I mean, I couldn't walk around the block without running out of breath. And I told one of my managers, I said, hey, Armando, if we hit goal this month, guess what? We're going to get a limo. We're going to go out on the town. But if we don't hit goal, guess what? We're going to punish ourselves. We're going to do, the 4K. You know what I mean? And he goes, okay. And you know what? I'm like, we got this, man. We didn't hit the goal, man. We missed it by a little bit. I'm like, fuck. So I haven't, the only cardio I do is on treadmill 2.0, just, the lazy bodybuilding, cardio, you know what I mean? And so we got there, and James, I started just doing a little jog. Literally after a block, I was like, and then this overweight chick was like literally 80 pounds, 100 pounds overweight, went, and I looked at her, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So then I'm like, my ego was just not having that. So I started jogging again. I would go past her, and then I run out of breath, and she'll pass me. Then I would go past her, and she'll pass me. And then in my mind at that time, I'm like, I don't care about anybody else in this race. I just want to beat the big chick. There's no way this big chick is going to. It's just going to be my biggest, blow in my. I just couldn't, So towards the whole time, we're going back and forth, and I remember I see the finish line, and I see her ahead of me. I just like all I played was like the Rocky song on my head. I'm like, I just went, went past her just the whole sprint, and after that, I'm like, you know what? I don't care about anything else. I won. But it was the most humbling experience, and it taught me, just what. Did you watch the last fight? With Ruiz and what's his name? The heavyweight champion.
The heavyweight boxing fight.
Yeah. So when the guy showed up and the guy was overweight and the guy would look like a statue, I'm like, dude, that has nothing to do with cardio. I told everyone from the beginning. I'm like, that has nothing to do with endurance. That has nothing to do with that. Actually, muscle works against you in endurance, from what I understand, because it sucks up the oxygen. So when they started fighting, I'm like, look, the dude looks like crap, but don't count him out. And when he started swinging, he had fast hands. I'm like, oh shit! And everybody was like, oh my God, including me. Now, talking about muscle, hinders endurance. I don't know as much as you know, but I know that most bodybuilders can run a mile because they have so much muscle. From what I understand, muscle, takes up oxygen and all that kind of stuff. But I saw your pictures, man, and for somebody who runs, does triathlons and literally, you're a pretty jacked dude for your type of sport. I mean, you got a lot of muscle definition. You have arms, you have abs, legs. How is that possible? Because I bet you your counterparts who are a lot leaner and weigh a lot less probably have an advantage over you, physiologically.
Yeah. So there's there's a couple trains of thoughts here, and we were heavily criticized for the amount of strength training we were doing. But I had the understanding that I need to be durable. I can't break.
Got it.
And there's a difference between doing consecutive Ironmans, being durable and strong, and then shaving off 30 minutes over your PR time, right? That extra weight is going to hurt me. over, going at a world championship level at the Ironman distance, I would need to be about 20 pounds lighter. And I would have to shed a lot of my upper body strength, and I call it manorexic. And I don't love the cycling look, and I would rather be more athletic.
Yeah.
And I had a high understanding. We were doing heavy Olympic style lifting going into the biggest endurance challenge in history. And again, we were criticized for that, but I knew in my head, and I've been coaching strength training with my athletes for a decade. And I will always bet on the athlete that does strength training over the athlete that doesn't, because they're more durable, they're more of an athlete. And to be honest with you, this isn't an endurance sport. This is a muscular endurance sport. And what I mean by that is once my cardiovascular system is built, my limiter isn't going to be my heart or my lungs, because that's going to be a successful byproduct of my endurance training. What's going to stop me is my muscles can no longer sustain that speed over that distance.
That makes sense.
Cycling is a power sport. How many watts can you push for how long? That has nothing. I mean, once you're trained and your cardiovascular system is in place and you continue to improve, your ultimate limiter is going to be your muscles. When you see those athletes in the endurance things and they're stumbling towards the finish line, that's not their heart and lungs that gave out. That's their muscles that gave out.
True.
This is a muscular endurance sport, and people just can't wrap their mind around that.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's profound, man. I mean, it makes totally sense, because at a certain level, if you're conditioned here, you're conditioned. There's nothing else you can do. Now you have to make sure everything else is conditioned, everything else can keep up, and the limiting factor is going to be the muscle, right? The endurance of the muscle. Make sure it doesn't cramp up. Make sure it's used to the load, used to everything that's happening, man. So I've
got a quick crazy story that's similar to yours. So in that first 4 mile fun run that I did with my wife, I'm running and I'm like struggling and my heart's burning and my legs are on fire. And I look over and there's these two moms pushing their kids in strollers, passing me, just chatting away. And I'm like, what is going on? And they beat me. And I got to the end of that, and literally, no word of a lie, my wife pulls me aside and she goes, "James, you're pathetic." And she went home that night and signed me up for the marathon. And we both said, look, this isn't going to define me. This isn't who you are. You're better than this. You look great because you go to the gym, but you're not healthy. And we need you to be healthy from the inside out. And that's kind of what started this journey. Is I started to heal myself from the inside, regardless of the perception or image of a healthy exterior. And that's what started this whole thing. And it was because I got passed by these ladies with their kids that were in conversation while I'm suffering and dying. And so that's what started this whole kind of inside out health movement for me.
I'm just tripping out, because the man who has the Guinness World Book of Record for the most amount of triathlon done, at one time he got beat by some stroller stride moms, in a 4K.
That's exactly what happened.
You know what I mean? And what that tells me is this, is that it's not you're genetically gifted. It's not like you fucking worked your fucking ass day in, day out, consistency, and able to go out there and get shit done. You earn everything that you have, and a lot of people's like, well, he's genetically gifted. Oh, he's rich and single, this and that. No, you just made a decision. You stayed consistent. I'm sure. I mean, here's one thing I talk about all the time. Everybody, my team knows. When somebody comes up and tells me, Sam, this person is killing it, man. This person's killing it. I'm like, for how long? That's my next one. I'm not impressed if you're killing it for a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months. I'm not fucking impressed by that. You tell me how long you've been killing. Everybody makes a commitment. In December, everybody fucking makes a commitment. I'm going to lose shit. But then consistency is like 2 weeks and then they quit, right? So you made a commitment and you stay consistent. How many times? You're not a robot, but you're just a human. How many other times, you get up in the morning, and say, man, you know what? Maybe not today. Those things happen before. You just
every single day. Every day I don't want to get up. I love my bed. I just bought a $7,000 bed because I love my bed so much. I don't want to get out of it. I'm human, and I struggle, and that's what people don't understand too. They just think that my favorite thing to get up and do is go do a 3-hour-long endurance session. Well, no, that's uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that either. I'd rather sit at home and do something easy. Trust me, I'd rather go play 18 holes on the golf course with my buddies. It's crazy. I train a lot of people, and I am brutally honest and blunt with my clients.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, I am not impressed when you lose the weight on this journey. I'm impressed when you've kept it off for a year or more. I said, don't come to me and we'll take a moment. We'll celebrate that along the journey way. Yeah. But that's not the finish line.
Yeah.
A lot of people can suffer and go all in for 90 days and lose the weight.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But that doesn't impress me. What impresses me is when you leave and I run across you on the street a year, 2 years, 3, 5 years from now, and now you look good.
James,
that's what impresses me.
James, remind me, because I'm in the weight loss industry. I own gyms. That's what we do. And we have this program called, 6-week 20-pound challenge. And people come and lose weight, and a lot of people beat the challenge. Some people get close, whatever. Some people don't. But I always tell them, I'm like, I'm not impressed. You lost the 20 pounds. I'm impressed by you keeping it off. I'm by you progressing. So sometime, what I want to do is, have you come and speak to us and speak to our clients. I do want you, I think that our clients will benefit so much. We'll set that up another time, when we're off camera, because, I love the fact that you said that. I'm not impressed with you losing weight. Anybody can suffer for 6 or 12 weeks. Now, can you remain consistent? And that's what I'll tell my team and everyone around me, dude. Consistency is what's going to get you there. The days that you don't want to do it, just show up, just show up, just show up, and just show up, and just show up. And that's what made you who you are today.
The question that you need to ask your clients, and this should be the quote of the podcast, is, did you make a change or have you changed?
Did you make a change or have you changed?
Right? Because if you made a change, it was temporary and you had the success. Or have you changed and made it a habit, right?
Are we writing this down, guys? I want this. I want this, man. I want this. That is so profound. Did you make a change? Yeah, you made a change. Or did you change? Because you have to change within. You feel me? You got... So profound, man. So profound. So when you were starting out, like you said, you lost, just like I did, man. I lost everything in recession, and all that kind of stuff. You started. Did you ever thought that this would be a career for you? You went through it as a career, and then you just pushed yourself, and then later on became a career. And how is it a career? How do you make money from doing triathlons? I know obviously your coaching program and your books and, your best-selling books and everything else like that, but do they actually pay you now to do triathlons?
Yeah, so I'm in a nice space, but it's a tough space. There's no money in triathlon. And so that's what's hard part is people see me and they're like, oh, you're living the dream. You're getting paid to train me to that. And I'm like, no, I'm an entrepreneur. And I have taken the accomplishment and turned it into value for my family.
Yes.
I train full time and I enjoy racing, and a lot of races will let me enter the races for free, and I get a lot of product and things like that. That's awesome because that's now an expense that I don't have to burden. And I'm so appreciative of those races that see the value of me coming to their race. But like I said before, I'm a businessman. I run a coaching program. We've got the book, we've got the documentary. We're working on a mindset program. My biggest form of income is speaking. Like I said, I've been speaking in 48 countries over the last 3 years. And here's the amazing part. My story isn't about triathlon. It's not about the accomplishment. It's not me getting up on the stage and pounding my chest. It's about the journey that we went on and the sacrifices. And what I've learned is that the human race, mankind, no matter how far away we are logistically, we're so close to each other. Because the number one thing that's getting in people's way is right here. And it's consistent around the world. We are getting in our own way. We are our toughest critics. We will always be hardest on ourselves. And our family's story and our example of showing up helps people to get out of their own way and out of their heads. And once again, gets them to believe in themselves. And that's my whole motivation for getting on stage and sharing our story, is to help people. I can't explain to you the feeling. It's greater than crossing an Ironman finish line. When somebody comes up out of an audience afterwards that I have no idea who they are, I don't know their journey, I don't know their past, I don't know their future, and they come up to you and they say, thank you, you just changed my life.
Isn't that amazing? That's probably the most fulfilling
feeling. You as a trainer, you have to have experienced that. And for me, that's what gets me on stage, that one person. And we get emails every single day from an event I did a year ago where they said, I was too embarrassed to come talk to you then. These are the changes that I've made. This is what I've accomplished. This is who I am today. Thank you. And to me, that's why we do it. I've made mistakes. I've misstepped, but that's what the journey we're on now.
You're making a difference in the world, and that's what's fulfilling. You know what I mean? I always say, success without fulfillment is ultimate failure. Not only you're successful, but you also are being fulfilled by changing people's lives and doing the right thing. So it's just amazing. Now you talked about your coaching program. Okay.
Yeah.
So you talked about your coaching program. I know you have a triathlete coaching program, and you have a mindset coaching program that's coming soon, and you redefine impossible. Your book. You have it on you. Can you hold it up? Awesome, man. I'm expecting mine to be in the mail signed, buddy. Iron Man Cowboy, baby.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so for people who are listening and they're interested in mindset coaching, in coaching for triathlon, or your book, where can they find about you and your programs and everything else?
Yeah, the best place to go where everything is linked is always through ironcowboy.com. And that's gonna put everybody to everything. If you want coaching specifically, go to teamironcowboy.com. If you want any of our merchandise, go to ironcowboystore.com. But everything is gonna funnel through ironcowboy.com.
Hey, make sure we get some stuff. I want some Iron Cowboy gear, man. Do you have some hats, Iron Cowboy hats? You got some hats? Yeah, I want that stuff, man. I want some stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm ordering some, man. I'm a big fan. I'm serious. I'm a big fan. I want some shit.
Cool, man. We'll take care of you. We'll send it.
No, I get it.
And then I post all my kind of adventures and fun stuff and new upcoming stuff on Instagram, and that's how you and I connected.
Yep.
But it's Iron Cowboy James. That's where I post a lot of stuff on my stories, all the adventures we've got. I've got a cool race coming up in the Swiss Alps in August. I'm going to Patagonia in December. We're going to Fiji in September. We've got some big races. And then obviously I've got a huge challenge coming up for 2021 that I can't yet talk about, but it's going to be out of this world.
All right. So I had some questions I wrote down because I want to make sure I ask you this question because you just reminded me because of the challenge you got coming up, right? So how did you get to the point of craving discomfort? At some point, like you always are challenging yourself, right? You always are challenging yourself. You always want to do the next thing, pushing yourself to the next limit. And there's a lot of discomfort is going to come with that. So at one point, you embraced it.
Yeah, and here's the thing is I don't enjoy being uncomfortable. And it's not something I crave. It is something I seek out intentionally. And I talk about when was the last time you intentionally became uncomfortable. And that's because I understand that when we're uncomfortable, we're facing some fears. Yeah. And on the other side of fear is the best version of ourselves. Yeah. We've all heard this. Yes. And so I don't enjoy being comfortable, but I enjoy progress and I enjoy learning, and I don't enjoy moving backwards. I'm a firm believer that we're never just standing still. Yeah. Progressing or digressing. Yeah. And the only way to progress is to become uncomfortable. And so for me, it's this desire to become the best human, which in my definition, in my world, is to be the best father. And in order to set the best example for my kids, I have to become uncomfortable. And so that was a totally backwards, reverse engineered way of why I get it. But I don't enjoy being comfortable. But I've taken on the responsibility of raising 5 children. And to me, in order to become the best father, I have to become uncomfortable and I have to set the best example I know how, because I'm going to eventually let go of 5 kids into this world that I need to have impact and influence and contributors to society. So no, I don't enjoy discomfort, but I love my children and want them to be a member of society.
Brother, I totally understand. I mean, like you just spoke my core belief. Matter of fact, we probably have to cut this out, from the thing. Matter of fact, I'm dealing with some issues with my ex-wife where she's letting my daughter quit every time something gets uncomfortable. So right after this, I'm actually hired a child counselor lawyer to interview all of us and make a decision, because I can't have that. Every time something gets uncomfortable, she wants to quit. And my ex-wife is allowing it. And so when you talked to me, I was like, dude, I get it. So
the number one thing we can do for our kids is to allow them to suffer and see through natural consequences and choices that they made. My daughter just got a speeding ticket and she was coming home and expecting me to ground her from the car. I didn't take the keys away from her. I said, well, now you got to pay the ticket and then you're going to have to go to court. And if my insurance goes up, you're going to have to pay for that. Those are all natural consequences of what's happening.
100%.
It actually is a disservice to me to take your car away from me. It helps me. Like, for selfish reasons, I need you driving. And I don't have to punish you. That natural system is going to punish you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that goes the same thing with our kids and challenges and wanting to quit. If my kids make a decision, they sign up for something, they see it through, whether it's uncomfortable or not, they have to go to the completion and finish line.
So another question, why do you keep wanting to find the limits? Is that why? I mean, I think you just explained that, right? You want to define limits because you want to be the best version of yourself, and you want to set the example for your family. You want to become a better father. You know what I mean? This is what you do. You want to let them know that, everything, you can push yourself further than what you think.
Yeah, and beyond that, we're now in a space where we have a kind of a viewing audience. I don't have millions of followers, but I have enough people that are watching what we're doing that it's motivating them to do stuff. And if I stop pushing the limits, am I doing a disservice to the public? And so I feel I almost have a social responsibility to continue to, and now obviously I want to keep things safe in my health because my family's first, but I feel like I am giving people motivation and inspiration, and I'm empowering them to do things and believe in themselves once again. And so for me, it's like this ping pong game of motivation to where I get to do what I do and I love it, and it motivates you to have change in your life and do things and gain experiences, which I think enhances the overall emotional, economic space of the world.
What would you tell someone that wants to push their mental limit? They want to increase their mental fortitude. What would you tell them to do? What are some things that they can do to get mentally tougher? Yeah,
and here's the biggest thing: is it's not going to happen overnight. And we've talked about consistency. We've talked about showing up. I'm a firm believer that success breeds success and confidence breeds confidence.
Yes.
And so I would say someone, look, write out your 5 things that scare you the most. And then of those 5 things, let's pick the least scariest, and then let's break that down into 10 scary steps. And now I want you to just do that one smallest, least scary thing.
Yeah.
And once you beat that, the next one's not going to be as scary. Because back in the day, 10 years ago, no way I could have conceptualized or executed 50 Ironmans. But I showed up every single day and did the steps along the way. People come to me all the time, hey, I want to do an Ironman. Okay, great. This is the program. Let's forget about the scary goal. I want you to do today's workout. That's all I want you to focus is today. If you can do today, we've got a game plan. We're going to have you do tomorrow. You can do tomorrow. We've got a game plan. You can do the next day.
One step at a time,
next thing you know, we're going to be toeing the line and you're going to be ready.
One step
and so that's my advice to people that are facing fears is like, look, let's get a game plan. Let's isolate it. Let's break it down into manageable pieces. And then let's start having experiences and let's start having successes. And let's just build upon that. And then we're going to be able to reach the finish line.
It is so funny, man. The guy, that came in yesterday, he wanted a coaching call with me. We were driving around, I was coaching him. A couple of things that you said applies to him because I told him the same thing. He told me, hey, I met you last year. Do you remember? I said, yeah, I briefly remember talking to you. He goes, but last year, if I would have known who you were, I would have never come up to you. And I'm going like, why? He goes, I was, I didn't know you were as big as you were. I'm like, bro, I'm not big. I'm like, Donald Trump is big. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I go, like The Rock is big. There's a lot of people bigger than me. I'm just an entrepreneur. And I told him, I said, do you remember? Do you know of some guys, some ugly guys that have some beautiful, beautiful women with them? You know what's the difference is? They asked her out. Why the other dude didn't ask her out? You know what I mean? So they took, they got over the fear. They just got to get over the fear, and get going. It's the same thing with you, man. Name your fear and just fucking do it. Nothing's going to happen, man. So, all right. So, how can people cultivate the mental toughness to do what they previously thought it was impossible? Same thing, right?
I think it's like we just said, it's having experiences and showing up at a small level consistently, right? I tell people all the time, hey, this is the secret to success. Do a lot of little things consistently over a long period of time. That's it. That's people always want like the silver bullet, this magic PDF, the perfect audio. And I'm like, here it is, one sentence. Do a lot of little things consistently over a long period of time. That's how you win.
You just, that's like what I say every day to my team. And one of my favorite books, is called The Compound Effect. by Dan Hardy, basically says, doing little things consistently right over time gives you big results, and doing little things wrong consistently over time will give you disaster. So choose.
Absolutely.
Choose. You know what I mean? So I know you can't talk about it right now. It's something you can do it in 2021, I think. But are you going to go for another world record?
Yes.
Gosh, I knew that. I mean, I don't even know why I even asked you that. Actually, I'm like, duh. Like, I feel like, duh. Like, like, of course you're going for another world record, man. Well, bro.
I always say this is my last one, and then I get bored, and I wake up one day and I'm like, this is a brilliant idea, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, this is a terrible idea. And so it's just it's that whole game that you play with yourself: quit, don't quit, quit, don't quit. And it's been 4 years since the 50. And I'm in a different place physically. I'm in a different place mentally. And I think what I'm scared most about, and this is totally relevant, I'm scared most about what it's going to take to get ready for the attempt.
Yeah.
And that's the whole part we're talking about, that journey that we're going on in order to achieve the goal. And I have people all the time that go to do something and they fail. And I say the lack of preparation is the greatest humbler and indicator of success or failure. And you have to respect the huge goals. You have to respect the journey. And if you don't, and you don't give it the time respect that it needs, it always leads to failure. And I think that's what scares me the most, is the amount of work that I'm going to have to put in between now and then, and the sacrifice that that's going to take. Once you put in that sacrifice, the attempt of the journey should be easy because you've done the work and preparation. And people always ask me, hey, how do you know you can do these things? And my answer is always, I 300% know that I can do it because of what I'm going to do between now and 2021, right? That's the difference between people that succeed and the people that fail.
So these are just my personal questions for you. So how old are you right now?
I'm 43, and the attempt will be when I'm 45.
So you're 40.
And the 50 was done when I was 39.
So you're not like some 24-year-old, you know what I mean? With just brand new joints and things like that. You've been an athlete, that took some pounding on your joints, wrestling and all that kind of stuff. How do you stay healthy? What does your diet looks like? What does your supplementation program looks like? What does your sleep looks like? Can you give me your rundown of your day? Because I'm just fucking impressed.
Yeah, we don't count calories. We eat as good as we can. And we supplement minimally, and we try to do everything we can with food. I believe in supplements because they're important, but I also believe in real food.
No, absolutely.
People always ask me, people are like, oh, I don't eat fruit. And I'm like, well, you're a moron. Yeah. And I'm like, if it's on the earth and God put it here, we need to eat it. And an apple, what's the ingredients of an apple? Well, it's an apple. What's the ingredients of a potato? Well, it's a potato. And so all of them, I'm like, eat that as much as you want. Now, if you're on a weight loss journey and there's some restrictions and whatnot, but like for an endurance athlete, it's like, just eat real food, eat fuel. Don't count it. Don't get concerned with all these new fads and all this. It's just to confuse you. Eat real food and fuel your body and give it what it needs to recover, to perform, to excel. I mean, food can do that.
So do you have a regiment though, or do you eat as you feel? I mean, like, I don't know, I would feel like somebody at your level, you don't have to count calories, but you kind of want to be like, okay, if I need to do this, I need to eat at these times. I need to make sure, I have a certain amount of protein, certain amount of carbs, certain amount of vegetables or whatever, but you kind of know your body already. You know how your body responds to certain foods. You already know what to do. It's kind of like Floyd Mayweather getting ready for his 50th fight. You know what I mean? You already got, you know what I mean? You already know the routine and everything you got to do, you know what I mean? And that's what you do.
Yeah, I think it's like you probably take for granted what you know because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things about coaching is someone will ask me a question and in my mind, I'm like, well, how do you not know that? And it's just because of experiences that we've had. And I have to be careful and go back to the basics a lot of time with people just because there's so much confusing information on the internet.
Yeah.
And I have got to a point where I can, I don't have a set time that I eat and I don't have set things that I eat, but I try to clean it up as much as I can. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. And I make mistakes. But my biggest advice to people when it comes to diet is look back on your week, your month, your year, and have an A- average. It's okay to make mistakes. The worst thing you can do is to be perfect, A plus, and then make a mistake and be an F minus for 6 months. And that perfection destruction model is way worse than, okay, I made a mistake today, let's get back on it tomorrow, be consistent as best I can, not be too hard on myself, and look back and okay, I've got a pretty good grade. And don't beat yourself up. Now, when you're in competition and you're doing body state work, that's a totally different conversation, right? But for the average person that's looking for a healthy lifestyle,
I agree.
You've got to avoid the A plus, F minus model. I call it the dumpster fire model, and it's just tragic. And that's what most Americans are doing.
You're eating broccoli one day, the next thing you know, you crash and have donuts all week. I get it. I see it all the time. Now, how do you keep your joints healthy? Do you do any kind of cryotherapy, physical therapy, stretching, massage? What has helped you the most? And do you take, like, say, for example, glucosamine, chondroitin, and things like that? Because I know that's going to be your limiting factor in the long run, especially as you approach mid-40s. That's going to be, that's going to be. I think your muscles are good, your heart is good, but are the joints going to handle? And do you have, severe osteoarthritis?
Yeah, no arthritis, very, very few pain depending on level and temperatures and things like that, but I don't think it's anything out of the normal. Going back to a quote we said earlier, do a lot of little things consistently over a long period of time. And that's the way I approach my rehab and my therapy is I do cryo, I do acupuncture, I do scraping, I do manipulation, I do chiropractor. I do heat, I do cold, I do all those things. It's not one thing. You have to. It's not one thing. And that's what a lot of people aren't willing to do. Those small, tiny details that lead to your success. I take a glucosamine, a chondroitin, all those things, because you don't know which one of those small things that you eliminate. And it's not one thing. It's a kilometer of effect of all those little things that you have to do. It's those small details that lead to success. And it's those small details that most people glance over. Oh, that's just a small thing. I don't need to do it. But you take all of those small things, and it's a big deal.
Got it. So tell me what does your day look like? What time do you get up? What do you do? What's your training schedule? Just tell me a basic rundown, because I'm fascinated by how much shit you get done.
Yeah. And really, it just comes to organizing and prioritizing, and every day is going to look a little bit different. Yesterday, we were up at 4:45 a.m. because we had a busy stacked day with business, and we needed to get a 3-hour ride in. And then I was in the gym 8:30 last night doing some upper body strength training because that's important for my swimming. Now today I slept in until 7:30. Because I knew that I had a big day yesterday and I've got a 140-mile ride on Saturday. My body needs rest. And there is that mentality of all in, all the time, no pain, no gain. There's the flip side of that conversation that none of that happens. The stress and adaptation doesn't happen without the recovery. And so every day is a little bit different, and depending on the phases that I'm in, like my training will get up to 50 hours a week. Well, right now I'm at 12 to 15 hours a week, right? Because I'm in a different phase. Mm-hmm. So today I slept in because I know what I have coming up and I know what I did yesterday, right? So today will be a light day on my feet, a light gym session, and probably a lot of hydration and food.
I love how you see everything from a 30,000 foot view. I see how you see the long game. You're not seeing the short game. You're looking at, hey, I got to be, like I said, not only have to have the cardiovascular endurance, I have to have the muscular endurance. Not only have to do that, I have to make sure, I do everything I need to do as far as getting the cryo, getting all that. You're seeing the big picture, man. So, man, no wonder that you're at this level at this age, because, first of all, you don't look your age, and second of all, man, I mean, being able to do this without pain. I got arthritis on my shoulder. You know what I mean? And that's amazing, man. That tells me a lot about your discipline, and not only your discipline to know what not to do and not overdo stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So my coaching philosophy is the word SOAR, to soar high, SOAR. And the philosophy is stress, optimize, adapt, and recover. Well, none of it works without the R, recover. You have to stress your body. You have to optimize the conditions. You have to stress, optimize, adapt. You have to allow it to adapt, and that's through recovery. And so you have to have all four of those phases in weightlifting, in nutrition, in sleep. All of those things have to happen in order for you to achieve the highest level. Stress, optimize, adapt, and recover.
That's amazing, man. I mean, you look like you're in your late 20s, and because most of the triathletes I've seen and marathon runners on I can see, they're so sucked in and they're so like this. I mean, they look like crap. I mean, they look a lot older than they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't at all, man. So, man,
thank you,
James. Again, it's an honor to just talk to you. Someone who has the world record, Guinness Book World Record. In anything. Obviously not powdered donuts like he was talking about. But in something that's like crazy. Your book is coming out. Or is it out?
The book's out.
It's out
already?
Out. Okay. Redefine Impossible. You have several coaching programs. And dude, it's a humbling experience, man. Just before we wrap this up, one more time, tell our audience where to find you.
Yeah, best way to find me on social media is on Instagram at Iron Cowboy James, and then everything will funnel through my main website, ironcowboy.com. So, man, super appreciative of you taking the time and having me out. Love your set. I love your build. I love your cars. I love your energy. You're just a stud. When I'm in California, we got to get together and have a meal and just chill and kick it.
Okay, before I let you go, James, let's go over some of these pictures, and you tell me, what these pictures are. You ready? So this is.
Let me bring them up. I'm ready.
So this is the foot update. Tell me what that is.
So early in the journey, we had massive foot trauma. And it's because my feet swelled so bad and the heat was so hot. The red dots you can see is nerve damage, and so it was extremely painful. And we had to navigate my feet always being wet and losing the toenails and the nerves exposure and the fungus and all that. It was extremely challenging. And we actually ended up getting silicone toe caps and using essential oils. And the next picture is still on the 50, but they're healing. And that's the amazing part about the body is it was still under extreme stress, but we gave it the right tools it needed to recover. And someone would have said, okay, that foot pain is going to stop me. And that foot discomfort is going to stop me. And I said, no, I'm not giving my body, my foot, what it needs to recover, even though I'm putting it under extreme stress. And so I found, I didn't look at it as a reason to quit. I looked at it as a problem to solve so that we could continue. And most people would have said that these pictures are opposite, that the real grim looking one is after the other one and continued trauma. But that's not the case. And that second foot picture is taken on the 50 still. And so you can see how the body's adapting. It's going, okay, he's going to do an Ironman today. I've got to figure out how to adapt and change so that I can give him the tools that he needs to continue.
Wow. All right. So the next picture I'm looking at is you're on the beach. You're on the beach.
Yes.
Kneeling down. Is that your wife?
Yeah. So this is day number 5 in Santa Cruz, California.
Okay.
And that's my massage girl that had just come out, and she was close enough to Utah. She could come out for a day. And a lot of people don't know, but I tore my shoulder on day number 5. And so this is her addressing the problem. I had 5 consecutive days and then all of the training that led up to this. And it was an old wrestling injury. And so I had to figure out how to swim the next 45 days with one arm. And that goes back to a high tolerance for monotony is an underrated superpower. It's because I'd mastered the basics of swimming. And I knew that I wasn't going to do more damage and that I just had to learn how to manage the pain. And by managing the pain for 45 days, I could get through it. And it was just a skill that I had to learn, knowing, okay, you're okay. This is a finite timeline. You just have to learn how mentally to deal with that discomfort.
So you mean to tell me for 45 days you swam, you did that thing with a tore shoulder?
Yes.
You gotta be fucking kidding me, man. Like, holy God. I mean, man, I feel like a little bitch talking to you. I was complaining about my shoulder a couple of weeks ago, man, and I was like, oh, my shoulder. I'm sorry, man. You just raised my whole standard of pain, So, all right, next picture. You're looking at food and you're like, yay!
Yeah, this is I was told that you're going to crave certain things when you're out there, and don't question it. It means your body needs it. Yep. And this was in South Carolina, and I remember I was turning on the bike, and they said, "Hey, what do you want when you transition from the bike to the run?" And I said, "You know what? I want a porterhouse steak, mashed potatoes, and some greens." And I was joking, and I showed up, and they you know what? They had a porterhouse steak, mashed potatoes, and greens. And I ate it, and then I went and ran the marathon. So again, that was one of the crazy things that we had to do. I had to eat 12,000 calories a day, and I had to teach myself how to consume that food while moving, because most of the calories were consumed while biking and running.
Wow. Last question before we wrap this up. At one time, I read that you fell asleep on your bike. What day was that?
Day 18, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 106 degrees outside. Lost concentration for a few seconds and fell asleep and ultimately crashed on my bike and had a big decision to make. Okay,
so you're doing 50 triathlons in 50 days. You get 3-4 hours of sleep every night. You have to perform the next day, and it seems like the logical place if you're going to fall asleep is going to be the bike. You know what I mean? It just took a split second. You fell asleep, lost concentration. You crashed. So tell me what's going on in your mind then.
Yeah, I say this quote, and it's on a couple podcasts, but it says, "He who has their why to live for can bear almost any how." And as I'm laying there on the road, and this is a whole other side story, but we did a 5K every single night for charity, and my daughter had committed to run all 55 Ks with me. And as I was laying there on the side of the road, I thought to myself, Lucy, my daughter, is going to be there waiting for me tonight. And if I don't get back on my bike, I'm not going to allow her to do what she said she was going to do. And so I have to show up. And so in that moment, she became my why to do something that was difficult or challenging that I had no idea how I was going to do it. And so, everybody always says, what's your why, what's your reason, what's your purpose? And I think that if you have one why, you're going to fail. And you have to always arm yourself with multiple reasons, multiple whys, because when it gets rough and you're laying out on the side of the road, you're going to have to stack multiple reasons and whys together in order to get you to keep moving.
Wow. Well, man, bro, I can't thank you enough. I got some manning up to do. I got some manning up to do, man. I thought I was a pretty tough guy, and my mind is blown. James,
there is one more picture. And it's a picture of me at the finish line giving my wife an embrace, a hug.
Oh, I thought that was one of mine. Okay.
And that picture is the most meaningful picture to me because I'm not the Iron Cowboy. We are the Iron Cowboy, and this doesn't get done without my wife, and that's my kids in the background. And it was a family adventure, and so that picture right there embodies what we set out to accomplish, and the love and the emotion that goes into something big. And so that to me is the most important picture of all of them.
I agree with you wholeheartedly because if you didn't have the family support, if you didn't have the love, if you had, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing. Yeah. And we know that, I know that, you know that, and I wholeheartedly agree with you that that's your, obviously you putting on the work, but you got to have a very strong support system, very understanding support system, and look at how proud they are of you. I mean, look at them. I mean, they're just proud of their daddy. And that's, I bet you, is the most fulfilling, feeling. Feels great when they're just so proud of you. They just look at you in awe. You're their hero.
Without question.
Well, brother, I really appreciate you being on the show. God bless you. And for those of you who are watching this, man, I mean, you gotta make sure you take nuggets. Go back and watch it again. Take some notes. There were so many nuggets here. And next time, man, you want to, procrastinate, hit the snooze button. You feel like, oh, it's tough. Oh, maybe you have a bad hair day. It's cold outside. You don't want to get out of bed, man. Listen to this podcast. Look at what this man has accomplished, man. Man up, woman up, man. I mean, he has literally redefined impossible. That's his book. Go get it. Stop bitching out. Go do what you need to do. And man, I'm just motivated. I'm ready to go work out.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
You,
have a blessed weekend,
yes,
man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.